Yeah, zombie ants. And so I'm writing a zombie novel based on that.
Okay.
But for humans.
I can't wait to not read it. Something I think it could be beneficial.
Okay. I was trying to understand where
your part is.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. I mean,
cool.
I really, what would be helpful is just to keep throwing yourself on the coals and.
That's so helpful.
So helpful. We're going to go into more detail if you have any questions, but do you have any questions right now?
Oh, me? No.
You know, I'm Holly.
As you're reading through these, I was just imagining doing those things.
Holly did slip me a couple Benjamins to teach this to you. I'm just kidding.
She did.
She didn't. I'm just kidding.
Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm Sergeant Q, and with me as always, Doc Jess.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
All right, we got a great episode for you guys. Our current topic, and I feel like it's been a revolving topic, are these protests, these anti-Israel, pro-Palestine protests that have been happening all over college campuses, and how the political winds of that are shifting, just like I said they would be. And so we'll talk a little bit about that and what you can do if you get caught up in that mindset. We're also going to talk about our new advancements, which is a really cool ebook that Doc Jess put together for us. It's going to help you understand how to communicate assertively without being aggressive. So just help you with your communication style, which goes back to our trending topic, which is when you find yourself in those heated debates, how do you articulate properly without getting emotional? Well,
and more specifically, assertive communication regarding defensiveness. And so learning how to not be defensive. The principle is you're a grown-up, you don't get in trouble. So learning how to have conversations with people with the mindset of like, I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to answer to anybody. How do I assertively communicate without being defensive? So
as a veteran, I don't think I am defensive. I'm aggressive.
Yeah. True.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not defensive. It's, I just attack, overwhelm.
Mm-hmm. We'll get into it.
All right. Awesome. Perfect. So we're going to talk about that. And then there's this really cool book that I like as well. It's called The Art of Nonviolent Communication. So there's some key things I'll throw in there about that as well. Our scriptures for the day, we'll go over that. And then we're actually going to take that ebook that Doc Jess put out, and we're going to break it down and use it right here for you guys to see it. And that way, if you like it and you want to utilize it, you'll be able to get that on our website.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it.
Let's do our card.
Oh, the card. Yes.
The card.
I don't feel like this is as fun as it used to be.
No. It's the first three were so epic. It's been hard to reach that, right?
It has. It's been hard to reach that same thing. But that goes back to the dopamine hit and how addictions are formed. And right? Yeah. We were addicted to the cards at first because they were super fun. And now it's like, it's lost its luster.
All right. Well, this one is interesting. If you're in a bad accident, should you wish that you were made of steel?
No, I would say no, because you still can still take damage and be damaged, and it's a lot harder to repair steel than it would be something super squishy, like a squishmallow. So I'd say no.
Are you calling me? Is that a fat joke?
No, but it could be.
It says, not really. Pound for pound, the human bone is stronger than steel. The man of steel may not have that much over us after all.
Then why are we making skyscrapers out of all of our people who passed away? Yeah. Instead of filling up graveyards, we could recycle the human body and make.
Well, steel doesn't decompose. Bones do.
Oh.
That might
so what
be
if we varnished them? Like lacquer or something?
Casey, next thing you know, he's going to have some crazy idea and patent it and let everybody know I'm part of this idea. I get 10%.
So it's funny. I have a friend of mine who grows a specific type of mycelium and uses that to make a concrete that is super bio-friendly, super lightweight, and super strong. It's really, really cool. I'll try and, Casey, so remind me at the end of the show and I will send you that link. The stuff this guy is doing with mycelium, which is mushroom. Sorry, if you guys don't know, mycelium is the compound in mushrooms that grows like underground. The mycelium is what grows the whole network. And he grows a specific type and uses it in concrete. And it's a super lightweight, super strong type of brick. Really, really cool. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eco-friendly, super lightweight. And if you ever work with concrete, you have to haul those bricks around. Dude, they're heavy.
Yeah.
They're heavy.
All right, you guys, let's talk about our current event.
Sorry, I was nerding out on mycelium.
Totally nerding out.
So, fun fact.
Yes.
There's a mycelium that, what? This is crazy. There's a mycelium that will attach to an ant or a bug, preferably like ants for whatever reason. And it will take control like a zombie. It takes control of the ant. And what it does, it has it crawl up to the highest point, and then the mycelium spores spread out onto the other ants and turns them into zombie ants. That's how it replicates itself.
Oh my gosh.
Zombie ants. And so I'm writing a zombie novel based on that.
Okay.
But for humans.
I can't wait to not read it.
You are not. I'm writing you into the book and then I'm going to murder you in the book.
That perfect. I can't wait to not read that part.
You think I'm joking? I'm not. All my friends are in this book. I'm not kidding. Jay's in the book. Thad's in the book. Jesse's in the book. Mark is in the book. And now you.
Perfect.
You're going to be a villain.
Okay. All right. So our current event is we're gonna keep talking about this topic of these anti-Semitics around the college campuses.
Yes.
And some new things that have come out. And like Sergeant Q warned us about that, the pendulum was going to swing. And it's beginning to swing. And what we mean by that is people are going to start saying and standing up for their discomfort or disagreement in it. And so those extreme leftists that are there protesting for something, they have no idea what they're really even protesting. The pendulum is coming. And so one really cool video we saw was these frat boys.
Yes.
At what? It was a Southern college. What was it?
It was UNC. So University of North Carolina.
Well, okay. There was another one too. Then
there were several.
Yeah. And so now they're starting to go out and protest the protesters.
Yes. Oh no, that one. Yes,
you saw that one.
Yes, I saw that one too. So no, the one I was talking about was the guys from UNC. So the frat boys from UNC went out there and basically surrounded the protesters. Put the flag back up because they tore down the American flag.
Oh my gosh.
They put the flag back up and then they defended the flag. And so
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, these people they are vandalizing, they are damaging things, they are impeding movement of personnel onto campus, not allowing Jewish students onto campus, not allowing any student to kind of cross through the quad because they've taken over that space, put up tents. And so they've really become terrorists on campus, impeding people's movement and trying to harass them. And people have had enough. Now they're really doing a detriment to their cause because they've ticked off the average person to where they're fighting back. And so that's what happened with UNC. There's actually a GoFundMe that was started to throw these frat boys a rager. That you can look it up. There's a GoFundMe. Maybe we'll have Casey link it in the bio.
Not that we're supporting.
Well, not that she's supporting.
Funding a rager, but the concept is interesting.
I was supporting the American flag, but
yeah, supporting the American flag.
But so there's this whole campaign now, and I want to say it's raised over $500,000 as of Saturday. $500,000 for these guys to have a big party. But I'm sure GoFundMe will shut it down because that's what they do to this kind of thing. But it just shows you how much support these average citizens have versus this pro-Palestine terrorist event that they're putting on all these campuses. And that's really what it is, because they are trying to get their message across through violent means. That is terrorism. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're being violent on campus. They're destroying things. They're taking over spaces. They're not letting people in. That is terrorism. And the average person is standing up for themselves now.
Yeah.
And I talked about this months and months ago.
Not just for themselves, but for the country.
Right.
For our freedoms and for our flag. That represents so much. And go ahead. Yeah.
And so we saw this 6 months ago when these professors and these deans were allowing these things to happen, and they were being called, to, I want to say it was in front of Congress maybe, to talk about why they were allowing these things to happen. And they just gave these real softball answers and just like hoping it would go away. Well, it didn't go away. And I told everybody that it's on the far left right now, but it's going to swing back. And us as reasonable, moderate people in society, doesn't matter if you're left leaning, right leaning, there's way more of us in the middle of the moderate section, left and right, that need to slow this pendulum down. Because the last thing that we want to do is have this thing pick up speed and have these far right nutcases start driving the initiative and start acting like the far left. We in the middle need to really just tamper this energy down and not blow it up. Cooler heads need to prevail.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we're going to talk about today, actually. Oh, one other thing. They're actually arresting these guys now because they weren't arresting them. And what they're finding out when they're arresting these students, that the students are there, but they're being riled up by these outside entities. So this is not organically happening inside the college. These are outside entities that they're finding are coming in and riling up these college students to get them on board for their cause. And so I just thought that was unique, that when they started arresting people, they started to find out like, oh, you mean the college campuses aren't the ringleaders? It's some outside entity. So they should have been doing that 6 months ago.
Right.
They had to figure this out.
Yeah. A lot of this conversation and topic going from pendulum to pendulum is being cognizant and intentional about having good communication skills, even when we're discussing things that we don't agree on. I love watching Charlie Kirk when he goes onto these college campuses and those extreme far lefts that are your hate speech. Why are you here? And he articulates so well and clearly that the moment society and civilization stops talking about things in a constructive way, an honest way, is when things go really bad. And so the fact that the far left or the far right that are too emotionally driven can't have conversations about seeing where each side is coming from is a very dangerous place to be.
So when you're so steeped in your emotional brain, logic and reason don't compute. And that's what I see happening, is that people get so wound up in their emotions that their feelings become facts to them, but not to the rest of the world. And so they're so steeped in that emotional bias of whatever they're emotional about that they can't see reason and logic. And the only thing that matters is that emotion.
Yeah. And though we're talking under the guise of these very media focused situations, everything that we're going to talk about from here moving forward with the new advancement and the scriptures and the tool are things you can do in your own life when you feel emotionally driven, in your marriage, in your relationship with family members that might be a little chaotic or dysfunctional, in conversations with your boss or coworkers, employees. It doesn't have to be for these extreme examples. You can use a lot of these tools in your everyday communication with the people in your inner circle.
Yeah. And this is something that even I struggle with when I feel like I've been disrespected. That really gets me fired up. Yeah. So everything else I'm pretty cool headed about, but if I feel disrespected, that is something that really gets under my skin.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I really liked when it came to learning about this stuff and reading about it, there's a book that's called The Art of Nonviolent Communication. Great book. My opinion, do not buy the audiobook. Just buy the regular book. I think it may be the author reading it. He's very dry And so it makes it really difficult to get through the book. And even when I stopped using the audiobook and I started reading it, I'm still hearing it in his voice. And so it was very distracting for me. So great book, great information. Just buy the book. Don't get the audio. You'll thank me. You'll thank me. But my biggest takeaway from this, and he went all over the world utilizing this practice to help tribesmen who were warring in East Africa for generations to be able to find peace. He also went to some of the inner cities and some of the local gangs and used the same thing to help them find common ground and bring peace and stability. So it was amazing. And the number one takeaway, if you don't read the book, it's fine. But the number one takeaway, he said, when you have two parties, two groups or two individuals, two parties that cannot get along, they disagree back and forth. You did this, you did this, you did this, tit for tat. The first thing you have to do is find common ground, something that everyone can agree on. And that's what you find. You have to find that common ground first, something that both sides agree is a good thing. And then you can build from there. And when things start going sideways, you just bring them right back to that common ground that you already built. And you're building more and more and more common ground, knowing that you're not going to get everything.
Yeah.
But you're going to get a good foundation that you can build on and move forward.
It reminds me of a term that you use quite a bit, and it's building mutual buy-in. So when you help people come from opposing views, come to agree on a common ground, or see each other from a common experience or common ground, you're helping them buy into the process of building off of that. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, because we're all different. We all have a lot of things that we could disagree on. So you got to find the one thing that you can agree on. And so when I do my signature talk and I speak on mental health, I'm bringing science and scripture together. And the world would tell you that these two people are at odds. The scientific community and the faith-based community are at odds. And so the first thing I do right in the beginning is find common ground for them. And so that way, no matter what side, if they're the scientific mind or the spiritual mind, we find common ground, one or two things that we can all agree on. And then we start to build from there. And I've had great success utilizing that in my talks for mental health.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. So the new advancement is going to be an ebook that Sergeant Q and I put out, and it'll be available on our website. Holly is
Holly
the
puts
mastermind
all that stuff out
for all of that, but we're going to talk about a lot.
She's got a really big library of stuff out there, all kinds of free content.
All kinds of free content. Yeah. Some of it is, $2.99. Like it's going to be $2.99 for this ebook because producing a podcast is very expensive. And so what's $2.99 for you to download an ebook that's going to help you communicate well for the rest of your life? Right. So
absolutely.
Really, it's going to be really good stuff. And so how I want to introduce the ebook is this is going to be specifically around defensiveness, understanding defensiveness. So defensiveness is a natural response to perceived threats or criticism characterized by justifying, denying, or blaming. The impact that it has on communication is it hinders effective communication and problem solving. It leads to escalation of conflict and breakdown of relationships, and it blocks empathy and understanding, preventing genuine connection. Facts about defensiveness is defensiveness often arises from a fear of being judged or criticized. It can be learned behavior from past experiences or modeled by others. And overcoming defensiveness requires self-awareness and the ability to manage emotions effectively. So if you think about everything that we said in the last 20 minutes, that right there
sums it all up.
Sums it all up. And so it's kind of like I knew a little bit about defensiveness before we...
Almost like you went to school for this.
I'm up. Yeah, maybe something like that. You didn't, and you know more than I do. So
because I read all the books that you paid a whole bunch of money to read. And I read them for free.
I didn't buy them. The VA bought them.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah. I got a whole library of stuff because the VA.
Thank you, taxpayers.
Thank you, taxpayers. Yeah. So we have a couple scriptures that as Sergeant Q was talking about,
Yes.
that parallel with science and psychology and evidence-based things. So why don't you start with your scripture?
Yeah. So I liked Romans 12:18. It says, if at all possible, as far as it depends on you, to live peaceably with all men. I like the part in here. It says, if possible, as far as it depends on you. So there are some people in your life that you're not going to be able to live peaceable with because they're not on that same level as you. So you don't have to take responsibility for other people's actions. I really like that. But it says, as far as it depends on you. But that's also very convicting.
Right, because it goes back to one of these definitions of overcoming defensiveness requires self-awareness and the ability to manage your emotions effectively. And how many times are we at odds with people or have conflict with people because we played a role in the demise or destruction of that conversation or that relationship? And 94% of the time, you had a part to play in the destruction of that relationship or conversation. And
what I tell people is you're probably at least 50% of every problem that you have.
That I would support that statistic.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it really is. And a lot of times it's because we're looking at life through a lens that is painted by trauma.
Yeah.
And so we don't see things as they are. We're seeing them through that emotional lens. So that's where the self-awareness comes in. That's where scripture tells us that as far as it depends on you, which means you have to now reflect on yourself and what part did I play and what can I do to make the situation better? Because as far as it depends on you. So self-awareness is the first step. But the second step is now you have to do something about it.
Yeah.
What can you do to try and create peace in this situation? And there are countless other scriptures that will tell you kind of what to do next. And I think that's where you get into it.
Well, yeah. And I would go as far as to add not just trauma that is the reason for some of that behavior, but also pride.
Pride, learned behavior, because
learned behavior and pride. Because I don't care who you are. Nobody is naturally going to embrace criticism or responsibility for something they did wrong. It doesn't feel good. You can learn to embrace it. You can learn to love it because you see how beneficial it is. But our natural human innate nature is to, no, it's everybody else's fault. It's everybody else's problem. They did this to me. This happened to me. That blame shifting. And the combination of being self-aware about your baggage, about your trauma, about the things that have happened to you that are unfair in relationship with the tendency to want to be prideful and not take responsibility of your part, I believe that they go hand in hand.
And I agree with you. And even, I love what you said, it doesn't feel good. Even when you know, it doesn't mean it feels good. Even when you know, like, okay, this is what I should be doing. I recognize now that I'm part of the problem and I need to fix it. It still doesn't feel good. It's always going to feel icky. It's just like, oh, dang it. But it's going to be different. It's not at least for me, it's not the, oh, I'm defensive and so it doesn't feel good. It's, dang it. How did I get here again? I did this again. Dang it. So that's more of where it is for me now. It's when my wife or my daughter says something. Oh, my daughter got me good the other day. Oh, she got me good. Oh, man. And this was, I was like, dang it. And I was like, okay, I hear you. So I'll tell you what it was. I don't remember honestly, I don't remember exactly what the disagreement was about.
That's usually the case.
Honestly, it was something trivial, but I just got frustrated with it. And so I got out of the car and I slammed my door. I'm like, I'm out of here. And my daughter later, she goes, Dad, would you want me dating a guy that would get in an argument with me and then slam the door and walk away? And I was like, no, dang it. You're right.
That's my girl.
Man.
That's my girl. No, that's good. And that's so good. Hey, and it's crazy that you wanted to use a true example of your own failure, because what I'm going to tell you guys here is all of this information we're going to give you, 80% of this ebook really came from my husband and I doing marriage counseling together, and areas I learned how I'm being defensive and what I need to correct. And so I'm never coming at anybody with like, oh, I'm the expert, you should do what I say. It's like, oh, I made all these same mistakes. let me show you how I learned from them.
Like this, don't go this route. This sucks. Let me show you.
Yes.
Like come this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she got me good with that.
That's really good.
And two ways, right? Number one, she didn't get mad. She didn't, take a shot at me and say something. No,
she waited till later, you said.
Yeah. She waited till later. And then she said that. And I was just like, oh my, she didn't attack me over it. She just asked that question. I was like, oh my gosh.
I'm so proud of her.
That was really good. And I told her that was really good, Aaliyah. I hear you. I hear that.
Yeah.
Because if she would have just fired back with something and, in the argument, something like that, then.
Oh my gosh, we're going to talk about this, Aaron.
Gone back and forth. I know, I'm setting you up.
So good.
We've just gone back and forth. But when she didn't do that, when she said, would you want me to date a guy who did that? And I was like, no. Dang it.
This is so good. Okay, so my scripture that I came up with for this is found in Ephesians 4:29, and it says, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." So Aaliyah chose to not equal your emotional energy,
mm-hmm.
and she put this into practice. She made sure no corrupting talk came out of her mouth. And she used her words to build up as fits the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave grace to you.
And it made me, as far as it depends on me.
Yeah.
Right? She gave me that information and now I have to do something with it. So I had to be reflective.
Yep.
And
self-aware.
And then I have to do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good. Thanks for sharing that.
I hadn't planned on sharing it, but
yeah, I know.
I thought it would be valuable.
Yeah. Well,
that's not even in my notes.
I know.
It's just the way.
See how God works?
Yeah.
We're on the same page. Let's dive into this tool. So this tool is, I don't know, ebook or...
Yeah, it's an ebook.
Ebook.
It is, yeah.
Okay. And so we're going to start with...
You can download it as a PDF, on our site.
Yeah.
So it becomes an ebook.
I'm going to start with what is assertive communication, because every proper, healthy communication is going to come down to being assertive communication. This assertive communication is the ability to express your thoughts, feelings, and needs in an honest and respectful manner. It involves advocating for yourself while also considering the rights and feelings of others. Assertive communication allows you to express yourself confidently and effectively, leading to healthier and more fulfilling relationships. I wish I could just read this to the protesters on both sides.
Right.
No? Okay. So, third page, whatever page in our ebook. So, as we're military, I have an acronym.
Yes.
ABCDEF. Okay. So the first one.
That's not an acronym. That's just a list of letters.
Okay, that's true. But like ABCDEF. Remember ABCDEF. Thank you, Sergeant.
I was waiting for the acronym and it didn't happen.
Okay. So A is going to be agree. Okay. When you're feeling defensive, one of the options is, if the person was right about the accusation, as Aaliyah was, you're going to agree. It says, if the accusation is true, humble yourself. For example, say, yes, I did that. Or that must have hurt you. Okay. B, C is the next one. And that's be curious. So if the accusation is not true, we're going to ask questions. For example, we're going to say, that's interesting. Can you tell me more about how or what you remember? Okay. D is going to be defer, deflect, and disengage. And this is if the accusation is not true and the accuser is dramatic or triggered. You're going to want to take a break. Okay. So for example, you're going to say, wow, that's a big accusation. I'm going to need some time. I'll get back to you. Defer, deflect, disengage. E is going to be examine environment, then explain. And this is if the accusation could be true, but the accuser is triggered or dramatic. Suggest discussing this at a later time. So for example, you could say, this feels really heated. I'll be happy to explain when things calm down. And then F is finesse. This is if the accuser's triggered or irrational. Respond with understanding. For example, say, that's unexpected, or you seem upset. Are you okay? We're going to go into more detail if you have any questions, but do you have any questions right now?
Oh, me? No.
You know, I'm Holly.
As you're reading through these, I was just imagining doing those things.
Holly did slip me a couple Benjamins to teach this to you. I'm just kidding.
She did.
She didn't. I'm just kidding. Okay, so
you guys have a private text line.
We are going to do some applying techniques. So we're going to start with some examples. Okay. So scenario 1 could be, the accusation is, you never listen to me. The technique could be curious, BC, right? You could say something like, sounds like you're feeling unheard. Can you tell me more about what you're feeling? Does that sound healthy and productive?
Yes. Is there a back and forth here? Am I supposed to do something?
I think if you feel like adding something, I think it could be beneficial.
Okay. I was trying to understand where
your part is.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. I mean,
cool.
I really, what would be helpful is just to keep throwing yourself on the coals and
that's so helpful.
So helpful. Okay. So scenario 2 could be, the accusation could be, you're always so selfish. Technique could be, agree. You're right. I haven't been considering your needs. Let's talk about how we can address that.
Oh, that's good. I could see how that would really
diffuse.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's great feedback. Thanks. Okay.
Now
Scenario.
I'm taking notes.
No, you can download the ebook for $2.99.
Download the ebook. That's a really good one.
Yeah. So scenario 3 could be.
Well, no, hold on. I want to go back to that because I usually just apologize right there. Said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that." But that when I heard you say it, it changes the dynamic of the conversation. Instead of just saying, "I'm sorry,"
it goes back to putting action behind your self-awareness.
You're right.
You're the one who said 5 minutes ago, when you're self-aware and you humble yourself to be self-aware, you don't stop there. You put action behind it.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So
let's talk
that's
about
why
how we can address
you like that because it's already in your spirit and in your desire to do that. Cool. Scenario 4, accusation.
No, 3.
Oh, we're on 3. Okay. So the accusation would be, you never help with housework. Finesse. A finesse, F, would be, seems like you're feeling overwhelmed. I'm here to help. What can I do to support you? Imagine a pissed off spouse that is so mad and says, you never help with housework. Usually we respond with the same energy and defend, deflect, or deny. Imagine those heaping coals of kindness that you would put on your spouse's head. If you say, you know what, it seems like you're feeling overwhelmed. I'm here to help. What can I do to help you?
Great example would be, well, I'm at work all day. I work all day. You're home. That's that. Tit for tat.
Defend, deflect, deny. Yeah. All right. Scenario 4, accusation could be, you're just like your mom, or you're just like your dad.
That's never going to go well.
No, and that's why this one is a defend, deflect, and disengage. This is the D. So you're going to say, that's a harmful comparison. I need some time to process this. Can we revisit this conversation when things have cooled down? This is good stuff.
3 days later.
No, you always have to come back at it, and there's way too much to go over in the podcast, but you have to always say, can we revisit this when things calm down? Can we have 15 minutes, 30 minutes? Okay. All right. We got 7 scenarios. We're on scenario 5. So accusation could be, you never take my feelings into consideration. Technique is going to examine the environment, then explain. Response would be, I hear that you're upset. Let's discuss this when we're both calmer so I can fully understand your perspective. Scenario 6, accusation. You're always late. Technique is going to be BC, be curious. I understand that my lateness is frustrating. Can you tell me more about how it affects you? Scenario 7, accusation. You're just trying to avoid responsibility. Technique would be finesse. It seems like you're feeling frustrated. I want to address this responsibly. Can we talk about how we can move forward together?
These are great, Jess.
I have really good stuff for that too.
Do you? What is it?
Well, it's how to take the offense without being offensive. And it's more tools that I didn't even learn in grad school, but I learned through my own marriage counseling when I needed marriage counseling. It was incredible. So we'll put a pin in that, and I've already made an ebook for that. That will make for the mental health janitors.
So that'll be a part 2. And I think that we could build a flash deck.
Well, it's actually a 3-part series. So the first part is healthy communication, 10 self-awareness. I'm just kidding. Well, the first part is, and there's an ebook for this, the rules of engagement for communication. And again, I got through my own practical experience as a client with my husband in marriage counseling. And it goes through the 10 most important rules of engagement when communicating. And the coolest thing about these ones is it's not just good ideas. These are enforceable, and we go in and we explain how you enforce. So for instance, one topic at a time.
So, okay, that's what I was going to ask you. So there's 10. We don't have time for all 10. So give me 2. We're short on time. Give me 2 of the best things from that.
Okay, so the 2 best things I would say is, I think it's rule number 8, and they're in no particular order, but one of the rules is no fighting late at night or when you're too tired to have a reasonable discussion. Okay. And so a lot of fights happen when both or one party is too tired. And when you're tired, your emotions are escalated. And so it's hard to have a reasonable conversation.
That makes so much sense.
So the enforcement for that could be, hey, babe, I'm not calling you babe. Hey, babe, I'm really tired and I don't want to say anything that I don't mean or that's going to be hurtful because I'm in my emotions. Can we please talk about this tomorrow morning? Because I really want to be engaged in this conversation.
That's good.
Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. And the second one is don't play devil's advocate. That's the rule. And what we find a lot of times in people who need marriage counseling is they get to a point in their marriage where they put up walls of defensiveness and they start not seeing that they are each other's biggest fan. When you're first married or first together, your spouse could do no wrong. Okay. So not playing devil's advocate, it really means be your spouse's biggest fan and supporter. And what that looks like is always take their side first when there's a third party involved. So for instance, if you're at a restaurant with your wife and she's like, oh, the waitress is so rude to me. A normal response in a dysfunctional situation would be like, stop being so dramatic. She's not being rude to you. Instead, we're going to say, I'm so sorry, babe, that you feel like she's being rude to you. Do you want to go somewhere else? Or
that's really good.
When you're driving and somebody cuts you off and the wife says, and you say, what an a-hole. He just cut me off. Like a lot of wives would be like, well, slow down. You deserved it. No, you're his number one fan. You say, I'm so sorry he cut you off, babe. Let's slow down so that he doesn't have road rage on us. Something a little more simple like that. Instead of combating him or her, take their side and finesse into another option.
Those are 2 really great ones. I'm excited about this next series.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. So that's the 3-part. It'll be the rules of engagement for communication, how to not be defensive and be able to enter into a good conversation without being defensive. And then lastly will be, okay, here's the script and how you do it.
So you guys think that we have this thing all planned out. We just wing it every day.
We don't just wing it.
No, we plan out the shows, but when we have inspiration like this, this is great stuff. And this right here leads right into that, where all this stuff happening on campus and politics and on the news and all this stuff, we can get all spun up and wrapped around the axle on it, but really it doesn't affect our daily life because we're not in those protests. But we all have spouses, we all have children, we all have friends, family, our core network of people. And so that stuff can have an influence, that stuff from the media can have an influence on our mental health. But I think it's really good to transition to now, how do we interact with the people that we care about the most?
Yeah.
And so that'll be a really good one to get into.
Yeah. And you guys, make sure that you're liking and subscribing our videos. That's the best support you can do. Ask us questions.
Yes.
Comment on what you like. Comment on what you don't like. We can take it. We can self-reflect. We can do better. And, as always, we are here to
educate, empower, and encourage you on your mental health journey. For the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sergeant Q.
And I'm Doc Jess.
And we're out.